This is the Post Nihilist, and I want to do a video about how they are dumbing us down. And I'm speaking specifically about blacks. Um, and I want to talk about a series, well, I'll say a series of dreams that I've had that have given me insight into this process of how the white controllers use icons, use idols in order to mold the generations to come. I had a dream a few nights ago where Kelly Rowland and Aaliyah were dancing. They were in a bathroom setting and they were dancing. And Joe Micheal was there, and he was the host of The Soup, and it was a comedy show where every week he would or he would use the weekly events to provide commentary for, not commentary, but comedy for. So he would make fun of whether it be reality television stars, actors, news anchors, people who weren't intending to be funny. He would make a joke out of things that they did unintentionally, being funny. And so he was there, and so he's known as a comedian, and he actually, an interesting fact, he was born in Rome. So I don't know if he represents the Roman Empire or whatever, because that the fourth kingdom would be the Roman Empire. So he was born in Rome and he was raised Catholic. So I don't know if there's any connection with that. But he is a white male, and he is a comedian, and he does make fun of celebrities as a living. You know, he makes fun of them when they're not intending to be funny. And he's standing there almost like he's interviewing them, but he's not. He's just standing there, you know. And I see like his right profile, and Kelly Rowland and Aaliyah are dancing. You know, they're dancing, and we're in a bathroom setting. And then Aaliyah changes into Cardi B, and she has Tekashi 6ix9ine rainbow hair. Okay, so at first it was Kelly Rowland dancing with Aaliyah, but then Aaliyah turns into Cardi B with the rainbow hair of Tekashi 6ix9ine. Um, and if you know anything about the current hip hop stars, Cardi B and Tekashi 6ix9ine are dominating the hip hop rap world, but they're not black as traditionally would be the color, the skin color of the hip hop stars. And strangely, to me it's strange because I guess you could say that I was born in a different era, that someone like a Cardi B or Tekashi 6ix9ine, which to me are obvious blackface characters. I mean, they use the N word, you know, they use it on themselves and referring to other people. They're silly, they're clownish. I mean, he has the rainbow hair. She's very, I mean, her, when she talks, when you listen to Cardi B and she talks, she doesn't seem like she has um, too much sense. You know, it's like they're caricatures, you know. Cardi B even more so, but they're caricatures of black people. They're blackface, modern day blackface. That's the way I see it. You know, like they're using the N word, and black people aren't mad. They don't know whether to be mad or not, or they're not. Me, you know, of course, I don't like to hear it. I don't use the word. I don't like to hear it. But you have the blacks who've grown up around non-blacks, and they've gotten used to them using it, and so it's okay. And then you have the blacks who don't know whether or not they use it, you know, in a derogatory way, or whether or not they use it in an endearing way. But you have these people who are non-black, who identify as non-black, and Cardi B has even referred to um, people as burnt cockroaches. I think she was on like a um, got into an argument with someone online, called them a burnt cockroach. But these people don't identify as black, yet they're doing all the stereotypical, all the things that make blacks appear to be all the worst characteristics associated with the black race they're doing. And yet they're dominating the hip hop scene. Um, So to me, it's modern day blackface. And the significance of this morphing of Aaliyah morphing into Cardi B, I think, is the transition from, and I don't even want to put Lauryn Hill in this because I'm not sure how she fits in, because, and she wasn't in the dream, but it's like a morphing from Aaliyah to, because she's dancing with Kelly Rowland, from Aaliyah to Beyonce to Cardi B. Now, Beyonce was not in this dream, but again, I assume that she's being represented simply because why would Aaliyah be dancing with Kelly Rowland? They're not in a group together or anything like that. I think it's showing the dumbing down over time of the black race, how they do it. How, first we have someone who, Aaliyah was a straight A student. Um, Unfortunately, at a very young age, she was introduced to someone much older, and she got into the very demonic and dirty entertainment industry at a young age, to the point where, she was in an interview talking about how she was sexy at 10 years old and how her mother was taking pictures of her at a young age and telling her, how she has sex appeal. That's sad. She was told that before entering, you know, the entertainment industry, that she had sex appeal when she was a child. So that's very unfortunate and very sad. What that does to a young child's mind when she's been told that she's sexy, by her own mother telling her, oh, you have some sex appeal, and then being introduced to predators, you know, it sets you up to be prey, because a child is not going to understand the intentions of an adult. So it's very unfortunate what happened to her. Um, but she was a straight A student, so she was no dummy in that sense, in the academic sense. Whereas Beyonce, if you listen to an interview with Aaliyah versus an interview with Beyonce, who was Aaliyah's successor, so to speak, Beyonce is not as academically inclined. I don't know, but you can see like kind of the decline in terms of um, where they want the mind of the black youth to go. And then now, then you have, the Nicki Minaj's, and then now Cardi B, and it just shows a decline into pure buffoonery, just blackface. And the sad thing is that these black youth today, who really don't have anything to compare it to, are like, this is hot, this is what's popping. And so now, they're replacing, because I've done videos before on the fact that they're trying to um, get rid of the black woman in order to kind of to depopulate and get rid of essentially the black race. And so it would make sense for them to go from, because, they went to light-skinned women where you have the Beyonce and the Aaliyahs, but now they're trying to go to a non-black woman. So it's kind of like they're trying to make the sex appeal not with the light-skinned woman anymore, but with the non-black woman, because light skin will still be classified as black. But if they can get people to lust after and admire Cardi B, then that takes the black woman out of the picture altogether. So now the representatives of hip hop are now non-black, in terms of, the Cardi B with the clown hair, and of course she's seen as a buffoon, so that would explain why Joel Micheal is there, because she provides that constant weekly like, I guess, content of comedy. It's like she's a comedy act, but she doesn't realize it, because Joe Micheal, like I said, comments on people who don't realize they're providing comedy on that Soup show that he did until I think 2014. But yeah, so that's where we are now. We're at the blackface, the Cardi B's with the rainbow Tekashi 6ix9ine hair, like the extreme overrepresentation of our most negative characteristics as a race. So that's where we are now, in terms of, an outside force directing the path of our youth through these icons, these idols that they put on television. You know, this is modern day. This is what our technology has brought to us. These idols that will destroy our children. And another dream that I had showed XXXTentacion, but his skin was dark. He had dark skin, like very dark skin, and his hair covered his face like the girl in the ring, Samara. His hair covered his face in like a bob. It was straight black hair and it covered his face like a bob. And I went into like a rock music shop in order to get, I guess I was going in to get his music, but he was there and he had the ring girl's face. And the significance of that, you might have to watch my video on where I say that the white race is their artificial intelligence and their superpower is creating grand illusions, because I talk about the ring, the movie The Ring, the analogy of how she's able to burn images, like harmful images, through technology, through like film, through music, through film, you know, through these mediums where we're able to view images into people's minds, and then after a certain amount of time you die. And I say how if you consume media like this harmful media, like Cardi B and, you know, Beyonce, even Aaliyah, you know, her final video was Rock the Boat, and it was about sexual promiscuity. And I forgot to mention this, but Kelly Rowland also, she morphed from someone else. And I didn't mention this because I wasn't thinking about it, but before she became Kelly Rowland in that dream, where she was dancing with Aaliyah, who morphed um, into Cardi B with rainbow Takashi hair. She was actually a girl who I went to school with. I went to high school with her, and she played basketball, and she got pregnant like her sophomore year in high school. Like she was young. She was a young teenager, and of course it wouldn't have been planned. You know, she was a teenage mother. And she had been, before that, you know, she had been a basketball player, a good basketball player, but she got pregnant, like, I think sophomore, I'm thinking her sophomore or junior year in high school. But that girl, and she was dark skinned, like not Micheal, like Kelly Rowland. And she got pregnant in high school. And that was the girl who morphed into Kelly Rowland. So I'm thinking that this music, this sexual music that is being, like, because Aaliyah, I know she started when she was 15, and this sexual music that is being, you know, like Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, Rock the Boat, these sexual songs that these young R&B artists, you know, and rappers, you know, put out. You know, like it was Little Kim in my day, and then it became Foxy Brown. But that kind of music, like if you give that kind of music to teenagers, where Little Kim is talking about drinking babies, and other just disgusting things, how many times do you think a teenager needs to listen to that before they think it's normal? You know, because repetition is key in making people think. Look how society has changed over time with technology, and how people are doing things nowadays, and they would have that would have gotten them killed, you know, in times past, because it would have been so disgusting. It would have been seen as so, you know, wrong. But nowadays it's just normal. You know, it's just normal for women to dress a certain way nowadays, whereas a while back, you know, it would have just been terrible. And how things have changed due to people being exposed to media that tells them certain things are normal that are not normal. But anyway, just to give you an idea of how sexual music promoted to young girls can lead them to destroy their lives through, you know, either through pregnancy, unwanted pregnancy, or sexually transmitted diseases, all kind of things that can come from listening to music that encourages you, puts you in a trance through repeatedly giving you these lyrics, these sexual lyrics, on top of, you know, appealing beats that make you think things are normal and acceptable that will lead to your demise. And so that ties in with the whole XXXTentacion with the ring, the girl from the ring, the samsara hair in that like rock music. And you know, rock music is associated with the devil. So I'm in this rock music shop and I see him, but he has dark skin. Like he's dark skinned, but he has his hair over his face like the girl from the ring. So that shows you, you know, that the fans of these people, you know, he's a person who said he sold his soul to the devil, and you know, in his final video, Sad, he's talking to a demon, and it appears as though in that music video that it is the demon who takes over his body. Like he's the one dead. Like he's already dead. Like it's not, people look at that video as being prophetic, like, oh, it's showing his death. But I look at it as if this thing that's approaching XXXTentacion is actually the demon who is taking over his body, and the body that it's looking at in the casket is actually the body of Tentacion when he was alive, because he was spiritually dead. This is how the demon sees XXXTentacion. The demon saw him as already dead. He's already deceased. I can take over it. Why? Because I can take over his body with no, you know, there's no barrier, nothing preventing me from completely taking over this body. So, you know, it's almost like, and I've had a dream about this as well, the worm that never dies, like in the Bible. I've had a dream where I saw maggots crawling on seemingly living people, but there were like white maggots crawling on them. So to me, that says they were dead, yet they were alive. But how are you alive if you're dead? And it's because, you know, you don't have the Holy Spirit, so it's like you have no will. It's like the demon has completely taken over you and you're nothing but a vessel. So in that, his final video, Sad, the demon is looking down at his corpse because that's how the demon sees him. Like you're someone, and later in the video where XXXTentacion appears to be throwing around himself, like his the body that was in the casket, he's like doing like little hand signals and throwing around his old self or his funeral body. That's actually the demon showing that it has complete control over this vessel. So the video itself was about him essentially selling his soul, and this demon looking at him, looking down at him in this casket as a dead body, like you're deceased. I can do what I want with you. I can use your vessel to do whatever I want. And what do you think a demon is going to do with a vessel? A demon is going to use that vessel in order to damn as many people as that demon can. And that's what the demon had done. You know, I don't know how long he was possessed. I would assume that he's been possessed for quite a long time, as long as he's been doing the music. And the demon used that vessel, the vessel of XXXTentacion, in order to do what the ring girl did, in order to burn images that the samsara girl did, burn images or content, music, on as many CDs as possible, or as many, you know, ways as possible, in order to damn anyone who is listening to his music. It's like, you know, you get the call, you're going to die in 7 days. Well, you won't die in 7 days, but you will eventually die listening to that music, whether it be through suicide or through spiritual death. You can lose your soul listening to an artist like Snoop Doggy Dogg or XXXTentacion or Robert Johnson talking about selling their soul to the devil and being friends with the devil. How many times do you think it takes for you to listen to a song by a popular artist who's a millionaire on top of a catchy beat saying they sold their soul to the devil before you think, oh, this is cool, this might be something fun to do? So, you know, I think of people like Austin Haroof, I think his name is, you know, young teenagers getting involved in this idea that selling your soul to the devil, like XXXTentacion did, is a cool thing. Why? Why do they think it's a cool thing? Because they see their favorite artists, their favorite musicians doing it. You know, they see their favorite their favorite celebrities playing around with demonic energy, you know, like demonic lyrics, and they think, well, they're still alive and they're millionaires, so it must be the cool thing to do. So it shows you how these artists are used through the demonic forces in order to lure more people into damnation, because these artists might do it and they might become millionaires and they might even live long lives, but they're being used as spiritually dead vessels in order to damn as much people as possible, because they can put a lot of sexual promiscuity in these songs. You know, girls can get pregnant, they can get sexually, or not even only girls, but people can get sexually transmitted diseases. They can become pregnant by people who don't love them and who won't take care of the children, so that they become poor, and their kids end up having a hard life and end up resenting their parents, and the cycle continues of, you know, children growing up with being parented by essentially children who got pregnant too young and could not give them the wisdom that they would need in order to properly equip them in order to deal with this world with so much evil in it. But there's also, I've talked about the entertainment aspect, but I want to also talk about sports and how the professional athletes are the same in terms of damning our people and dumbing down our people. I had a dream a couple of nights ago, and the reason why I'm doing this video is actually because the dream I had a couple of nights ago went along with a dream that I had actually on October the 14th of 2013, where in that dream, LeBron James, and this was in 2013, October 14, 2013, is wearing high heels, and he's switching back and forth, and it's nighttime, so he's switching back and forth. He's wearing high heels. He's a prostitute, and it's at nighttime. And, you know, at first I was like, well, you know, this, I guess this is all right. But then later on, I realized this is not all right. You know, just a split second later, I was like, this is not all right. You know, he's walking awkwardly. LeBron James, this big basketball player, is walking awkwardly in high heels, and he's switching his hips, you know, like a prostitute. And during that, he briefly changed into a light-skinned male with an afro, and then he changed back into LeBron James wearing the high heels. And the reason why that particular dream came back to mind, you know, as I was reading over my dreams from back then, is because the other night I had a dream where Michael Jordan is about to fight Michael Jordan. Like, it's Michael Jordan, and then there's a copy of Michael Jordan. But the copy of Michael Jordan on the right-hand side has the brain of Shaquille O'Neal. So there's the real Michael Jordan on the left, and he's getting ready to fight the copy of Michael Jordan, but with Shaquille O'Neal's brain. So it's actually Shaquille O'Neal in a copy of Michael Jordan's body. And I have to hold the real Michael Jordan, who's on the left, from fighting the Michael Jordan copy, who is actually Shaquille O'Neal, in Michael's body, but with Shaquille O'Neal's mind on the right. And I hold him, and surprisingly to me, I'm able to keep this Michael Jordan, the real Michael Jordan, from fighting the fake Michael Jordan, who actually has Shaquille O'Neal's mind, who's actually Shaquille O'Neal in Michael Jordan's body. And I was kind of surprised, you know, this big basketball player, how am I able to hold him back from fighting, you know, fighting, you know, Shaquille O'Neal in Michael Jordan's body. So it's two Michael Jordans, but one has Shaquille O'Neal's body. So, I don't know. I'm like, wow, I'm able to stop this fight, but, you know, because I didn't want anyone to get hurt in the dream, of course. But now that I think about it, I realize that this is showing the dumbing down in the sports world. Because when you think of Michael Jordan, the original Michael Jordan, now you have all these players now who are trying to take Michael Jordan's place, so to speak. But they're not him, you know. And Michael Jordan is one of a kind in the sense that his athleticism and also his business suave is very unique. You know, he's a billionaire, and that's uncommon for even professional athletes who make millions. So I'll say that Michael Jordan is wickedly wise, and he would represent the, I guess, the pinnacle of where you what you can become as an athlete. You know, he's not a preacher, he's not someone who he's not a man of God, but in Satan's, you know, carnal kingdom, you know, that's the pinnacle of athleticism. Michael Jordan, he's the quintessential, you know, athlete. However, that's not what they want. You know, Michael Jordan is good in terms of, you know, he's pretty much apolitical in terms of, you know, outwardly what we see. And he doesn't really promote God or anything like that. So that's good in the sense that, you know, sports can continue being the bread and circus, and, you know, people can spend their time watching sports instead of paying attention to, you know, how power is being misused in the world. Instead, they can, you know, have their bread and circus, which is, you know, sports, bread and circuses. However, they not only want your soul, they also want your mind. They want to completely degrade the black race to show, you know, and that's why it's important for you to understand your enemy. Your enemy not only wants to destroy you, but your enemy wants to take your soul and your mind. So that's why they want a Michael Jordan's ability, his you know, ability to entertain, essentially, and his ability to awe, but they don't want his brain. So that's why Michael Jordan is now looking at himself, but with Shaquille O'Neal's mind. Because I was watching Saturday Night Live, and, you know, I'm not, you know, and I don't watch sports or anything like that. So a lot of these athletes I don't know too much about, but they were making fun of Shaquille O'Neal's intelligence. They were saying he's dumb. You know, they were saying that he has a small brain and stuff like that. And they were just, the way they characterized him, the way they had their actors portray him. They portrayed him as just being stupid. However, like, you don't find Michael Jordan being characterized as being stupid. You know, you see Michael Jordan being respected and feared. You know, people say that, you know, he's mean, and Chameleonaire said that, you know, Michael Jordan called me the N-word and said he wouldn't take any pictures with me after I'd spent $7,000 on the jersey. And I was like, you know, quite frankly, when I heard the Chameleonaire story, I was like, good, you know, maybe that'll let these kids know who are spending like hundreds of dollars on his shoes and stuff that this is not the right priority. Like, you have these idols, these people that you look up to, and they're not for you. Like, maybe you'll see, like, they're for themselves. But anyway, Michael Jordan is, you know, he's feared, he's respected, or he's, you know, he's a bad person or whatever. He's wickedly wise, but you don't hear people call him stupid. You know, you don't see people like really just making a joke of his intelligence. However, those in charge want to be able to look at black people and say they're stupid. So, you know, they have to create the Cardi B's, the exaggerated stereotypes, the people who aren't even connected to the community, so they don't care how bad you look through their portrayal of you, because they're not part of your community. Like, what is it, Barbie, the Catch Me Outside girl or whatever. That's blackface. That's modern day blackface, where they use these people who aren't connected to the community, so they don't have to worry about, oh, how the black race is seen through your portrayal of them. No, they can be completely for themselves in terms of, you know, bettering their own financial situation by portraying you in the most negative light. And that's what they want. So they don't want the Michael Jordans anymore. They've replaced Michael Jordan, a copy of Michael Jordan, but with Shaquille O'Neal's brain, or with LeBron James, you know, wearing the high heels as a prostitute, meaning, you know, if I pay you enough money, you'll do whatever I say. I looked online, I couldn't find any pictures of Michael Jordan in a dress, but I found pictures of LeBron James as Flo Bron. He was dressed as a woman with a wig on. I saw several pictures of Shaquille O'Neal with wigs, wears a dress. Also, Terry Crews wearing, a wig dressed as a woman. So these minor athletes are willing to do more. They're willing to do, and I remember there was also a magazine cover years back where they had, I think it was an NFL player, and he was in a full wedding gown with, I guess, his white coach as the male, but he was the woman. Like, this big bulky NFL player was a woman on a magazine cover in a white wedding dress, and his coach was the man. So he's the woman and his coach is the man. So that shows, and especially with Terry Crews, how it's like you have these big bulky like black males who have been essentially tamed and become prostitutes for their white owners to do anything. Oh, you want me to wear a dress? Okay, I'll wear a dress. For how much money? So they don't want the Michael Jordans who are independent, who, even though they're apolitical and not for God, they have a level of discernible intelligence and wicked wisdom in the concerning Michael Jordan, wicked wisdom. But they don't want black people portrayed that way at all. So, Michael Jordan is replaced with Shaquille O'Neal and LeBron James. And the reason why I think that LeBron James, in that dream where he wore the high heels, and then he changed quickly into a light-skinned black male with an afro, and then he changed back into himself, while wearing the high heels and switching his hips like a prostitute. I think that he represented Huey Newton, and I'll tell you why. Because if you remember, the Black Panthers rose up after the death of Malcolm X, and then the leader of the Black Panthers was Huey Newton, and he was like the replacement, but he was a downgrade from Malcolm X, because you have Malcolm X, who's upstanding, a man of God, and he was more along the lines of, we can become independent, we need our own land, like independence. He was more in the form of like, we need, independence. Whereas then you have the Black Panthers come along, led by Huey Newton, who was a drug addict, misused women, was more of a criminal, a criminal who still wanted his share, or more than what he deserved. But he's still, like, he's a criminal, but yet he's saying he wants things from America. So he's almost like a caricature, because it's like, okay, we want, they had the 10-point platform or something like that for the Panthers, but you have a criminal at the head of your organization saying, America, give me this, give me that, but you're a criminal. So that it's almost like a caricature of what we are, like, for people to laugh at, to say, okay, well, you're a criminal, you're killing people. And then he killed a police officer. Then he eventually killed a 17-year-old female, a black female. So, it's like, these are the leaders who are replacing the more intellectual, the more mindful, the more respectable leaders. They're being replaced completely by clowns and criminals and people who, like, can be completely controlled, because Huey Newton, once you're on drugs, you become a complete caricature. Like, you become a complete, just laughing, like something to be laughed at, in his later years when he was hooked on drugs. But when you look at Malcolm X and then you look at Huey Newton, in the political sense, that shows. So we've looked at in terms of music, from Aaliyah to Cardi B with Tekashi 6ix9ine hair. We've looked at sports. You have the Michael Jordan, who's respected and revered, seen as, business-wise, sports-wise, he's seen as being very respectable and wise. And then you go from him to Shaquille O'Neal, who's a clown. And even Phil Jackson called him. He said that Shaquille O'Neal, the reason why the Laker dynasty broke up was because Shaquille O'Neal played the clown role. Kobe Bryant wanted to work hard, wanted to, copy Michael Jordan. You know, he looked up to Michael Jordan, wanted to be like Michael Jordan. Shaquille O'Neal played the clown role, and Phil Jackson said that's what broke up the Lakers, you know, because Shaquille O'Neal was a clown. But that's what they want. That's what the media wants. They want to go from the Michael Jordans to the Shaquille O'Neal. So it's better to have, you know, the Michael Jordan body, but the Shaquille O'Neal mind that can be completely controlled. And as far as politically, you have the Malcolm X to um, Huey P. Newton, who, you know, became a laughing stock, I guess, for his detractors because he became a drug addict. But, you know, even before that, he was engaged in criminal activity. But if they can make your leaders compromise, then they can show that your message is not, or the message that your leaders put forth is not to be taken seriously. They can show that the leaders themselves are compromised. So, and also Terry Crews, who was a football player, you know, he actually had a commercial that really shows this for Old Spice, because, you know, he was the Old Spice spokesperson. And in one of the commercials, his brain actually leaves his head because he's saying how Old Spice blows your mind. And his brain leaves his head and it blows up. And then he's talking in gibberish because he no longer has his mind. He said, "What a powerful mistake I've made." But people look at that and they say, "Oh, you know, ha ha ha, it's so funny." But they don't realize that they're being mocked. They don't, because they don't know their enemy. They don't realize while they're laughing around, joking around, their enemy is really mocking them. I had another dream concerning LeBron James where it's like it's almost like I'm in the This Is America part where, you know, Childish Gambino is like dancing on top. He jumps on top of a car. Okay. It's towards the end in the This Is America video, and he's surrounded by all these like old cars, and that's the show, and the hazard lights are on the show. This is bad decision, you know, like it's almost like he's showing that this is what the mumble rappers and the musicians are promoting. They're promoting, you know, in their music, buy all these cars, you know, to impress girls. And then there's a girl also in that shoot where he's dancing on the car, but he's saying, buy all these cars, get your gold chain, smoke your weed. But the cars that he's around, they are old cars, you know, meaning that they've drastically decreased in value and they're going to be worthless in a few years. They have no value. So it's showing you that. And then early in the video it shows where someone's like throwing their money around on top of a car. Yeah, the person is actually early in the video on top of a car throwing money, like wasting money. And that's another, you're being mocked. You know, I don't know how much Donald Glover even had to do with this video. You see people like they put vessels in front of you to act out something, and you think the vessels who are acting out the video are actually the creators of the video, when they could just be paid actors. They could just show up and someone give them their script and tell them this is what you do. Okay? So just because you see a vessel before you acting out certain things doesn't mean they're the creator of that. You could be being mocked by people who look like you, because they are not the creator of what they're performing. But early in that video, there was a person like throwing money down on top of a car, like wasting money. And that's what that's showing. It's showing that, and in the dream, you know, I'm like, there's LeBron James, and then I have a soda can, and I'm pouring out soda, and LeBron James was actually the spokesperson for Sprite, and I think Michael Jordan was the spokesperson for Coca-Cola. But they had these athletes, these bread and circuses performers promoting soda, and soda is bad for you. It doesn't quench your thirst. It rots your teeth. It's bad for you. It's money wasted. All it is an addiction. They're giving you an addiction. It's not going to do anything that's going to benefit you in any way. All they're promoting is an addiction. Water is much better, is you know, the only thing that you really need to drink in terms of, well, no, you need to drink milk as well. But water is what you need to drink. You don't need to drink sodas. But anyway, Michael Jordan and LeBron James, for I'm sure a hefty price, are promoting these harmful sodas. And in the dream, I'm pouring out onto the ground a soda. And LeBron James is there. And then I go and I jump on top of a car. And it's a car that has a busted window, just like the one that Childish Gambino jumped on top of. But I'm walking on top of it. And, you know, I guess there are also other cars around, but it's a junkyard. You know, the cars are covered with like kudzu, like they've been sitting for a while. They've expired. You know, they're junkyard cars, and I just happen to get on top of one. So to me, it's showing me that in the dream, these cars are completely out of commission. In the video, these old cars, you would think that they're out of commission because they appear to be like over 20 years old. So it's showing that black people are being advertised to, like, just like LeBron James, and I'm pouring out this soda. Their favorite stars are promoting shoes to them that are overpriced. They're promoting sodas to them, you know, clothing, expensive clothing or whatever. They're promoting things to you, or whether it be sports stars or whether it be rappers who are promoting, you know, buying a bunch of cars to impress girls, smoking weed, buying gold chains, the things that they're telling you to do with their lyrics or with the advertising deals that they accept for sodas or for or what they freely advertise, the gold chains and the cars and the girls and stuff like that, is it's sending you the wrong message, and it's sending you down the wrong path to, you know, whether it be waste a lot of money on a bunch of cars. You know, you have people buying expensive cars before they even buy houses, you know, before they actually buy something that can buy land, you know, that can increase in value. They're going out and they're buying cars that will decrease in value, which is they're showing in the This Is America video that black people, black males, they buy all these cars listening to rappers telling them that gives them value, buying the Jordans because, you know, television tells them it gives you value to spend a lot of money on clothes because people associate the amount that you spend on your clothes on your actual value as a person. They're tricked into buying these things that they can't afford, and then the cars, you know, decrease in value and they find themselves with nothing. They've wasted all their money. And so that's what that video is showing. This is America. But also, if you around the early in the video, you actually see the process that I've been talking about, where Donald Glover, you know, he's disheveled. He has the gold chains, you know, that the rappers wear, and he shoots this actual musician, this guy, Calvin II, who plays multiple instruments. He's actually a musician, you know, like, you know how Malcolm X talked about Dick Gregory and Lena Horne, and, you know, the white media is putting clowns and puppets up in order to represent the black community, and he knows that it's fake and it's meant to deceive and mislead black people. He said these are clowns and puppets, you know, the Dick Gregorys and Lena Hornes, the whites put up in order to lead our people. He said these are clowns and puppets. Well, you have Donald Glover at the beginning of the This Is America video shooting Calvin II in the back of the head, who is an actual musician. This guy's an actual musician. He plays several instruments. He plays drums, the guitar, the piano, drums, guitar, but piano, saxophone. He plays multiple instruments. This is an actual musician sitting in that chair. Okay? Donald Glover comes up, has him handcuffed, has a bag over his head, and shoots him in the head. Now, people look at it as, oh, that's murder, and it is. You know, just like when he kills the choir. But what he's doing, if you notice at the end of the video where he's dancing on the car, that guy's brought back to life. But he would have to be a zombie. He would have to be someone with their mind gone, just like Terry Crews in that Old Spice commercial where his mind blows up. and he's speaking gibberish. Think about mumble rappers, people who aren't actually musicians, who play no musical instruments, yet they're called musicians. Just like Malcolm X said, these people who have no political, intellectual ambitions, but they're just entertainers and they're put up. It's like you have the form but not the substance, like you have with Shaquille O'Neal. Like you have the form of a strong black man that people respect, but then when you look inside, there's no substance. There's no substance in what they do. Shaquille O'Neal is a clown. Cardi B with the Tekashi 6ix9ine hair is a clown. They're meant to be that. That's how they want us portrayed. Your enemy wants you portrayed that way. Okay, but there's no substance. And so you have Donald Glover, he's the replacement of the actual musician. That's why he shoots the actual musician in the head. He's destroying the mind of the actual musician who actually has developed these talents, these actual skills in order to play all these instruments. But he's being replaced, just like Michael Jordan was with Shaquille O'Neal. He's being replaced by this clown, this Donald Glover, who is who's a zombie, mind blown. You know, he's even dancing like a zombie. You know, you get a little further in the video, he's like dancing around like that. He's showing that he's a zombie, okay? And the guy he shoots in the back of the head miraculously comes back to life because he's a zombie. So when Donald Glover is dancing on top of the car, and then you have the guy who was previously shot in the back of the head, his brain was blown up. He comes back to life as a brain dead zombie, and that's what they want. They want these mumble rappers to replace the actual musicians, to replace the Bob Marleys, you know, to replace the Moses Hogans, to replace the Frank Williams, the ones who actually use their minds in order to craft music in a way that honors their people and honors their God. So Frank Williams, Moses Hogan, Bob Marley had to go because they were using their minds. They were, you know, they were in tune with their spirituality. You know, they were able to lead these large bands or choirs. You know, they had the mental ability to do that. They have to be replaced with mumble rappers so that, you know, these mumble rappers can be clowns and lead the black community in the way that they want the black community to go, which is the wrong way, of course. But they have to blow these zombies up more than they would be able to on their own, because nowadays you can become a celebrity by having no talent. I mean, look at the Kardashians. Look what made them into celebrities. Look at the, you know, the Catch Me Outside girls. Look at these Black China. Look at these reality television show stars who have no actual talent, but they're able to become famous. Why? Because there's an agenda in place to dumb people down. And so they're highly valuable to the agenda of dumbing people down. That's why it's not essential that they have a talent, because their talent is in getting as many people as possible to follow them, so as many people as possible become stupid, because they're dumbing down the population in order to have a slave population. You know, of course they want depopulation, but they also want the ones that they decide to keep alive. They don't want them questioning the power structure. So you can't have actual knowledge. Like, you have to be able to be like programmed. So you have to essentially be brain dead and then reprogram you to do whatever job they tell you to do. But they want a slave race. So they want to dumb people down. In order to do that, you have to have the clowns in place. You have to have the zombies in place that a lot of people will look up to. And you have to erase the memory of, you know, the past, where you had people who were actually using their brains and spiritually in tuned. You have to erase that past and replace it with these mumble rappers. And how do they do that? Another way that they're able to accomplish that is through drugs. And if you look at the 3-minute mark on that This Is America video, where previously Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, the name itself for a guy who's in his 30s should let you know where he is mentally. But he had a gun previously, and then the gun is taken away. you know, and maybe that has something to do with gun control laws or whatever. But now he has marijuana to smoke, and a lot of these rappers are, you know, advertising marijuana, telling the people to, you know, take marijuana. And Rudy Eugene, they call the Miami Cannibal, he had marijuana in his system. Marijuana gives an opening for demonic entities to enter your body and drive it like a vehicle, like a zombie. But he starts out, you know, the weapon now that he has is not the gun. He doesn't have the gun, but he has the marijuana in order to destroy himself. Okay, so the weapon he's using is the weapon he's using on himself, which is the drugs. So he smokes, he pulls out the marijuana, smokes it, and then, you know, we see at the around the three minute mark the path going to the car that he's dancing on top of. Now it starts off, if you slow it down, you'll be able to see this at the 3 minute mark. Slow down the speed. It starts off, you see little blunts on the floor, near where the zombified guy who gets shot in the head. He used to be, you know, the multi-instrumentalist. Like, he used to be able to play all these instruments, and now he's a zombie because he was shot in the head. His brain was destroyed, but he was brought back to life in order to provide music, but not the but as a vessel. Like, he's a vessel for another kind of spirit, because he's still seen as a musician, but he doesn't have his brain anymore. So who's doing the thinking for him? And of course that would be, you know, the white media, who turns him into like a mumble rapper. Like, you have all the instruments and everything, but the instruments are behind. The instrumentalists are not the ones who can play a lot of instruments, who are actual musicians, are not well known. The mumble rappers are the ones who are well known, but the instrumental, the people who play the instruments are in the background. So it's like they're not the head of the operation. So they're like zombies. You know, it's like, we don't want your mind. We just want the music, the good music, so that we can put a mumble rap on top of it. Okay, so you have Childish Gambino, who everyone knows, but this guy who can play like 5 instruments like no one knows, Calvin II, no one knows. But he's providing the music to go with this mumble rap, so that people will be drawn to the good music, but their brain will be filled with the mumble rap. Okay, like, because even in the song, Childish Gambino mentions Kodak Black, and he's gotten some, you know, like Young Thug and 21 Savage. Like, he has these mumble rappers that are actually providing some of the lyrics to some of the vocals, you know, and the lyrics to the actual song. So they're part of that song. He also mentions Kodak Black because it's showing the change from, you know, you started out with the actual musicians who are actual geniuses at playing instruments, and now you have the mumble rappers who are dominating. You know, the Kodak Blacks, the 21 Savage, the Young Thug. The names themselves show you where these people are mentally. You know, the little Uzi Verts, people like that, the Tekashi 6ix9ines. You know, the clowns, the thugs, the mumble rappers. You know, who aren't actually even musicians. But so they've replaced the actual musicians, and that's, you know, part of the dumbing down process. But from that scene at the 3 minute mark, it starts out as little blunts, you know, that are leading up to him, you know, on that car dancing. But then it turns into powder. Okay, so you see where the zombified guitar player is playing, and the camera kind of pans, is going towards where Childish Gambino has gotten on top of the car to start dancing. You first start seeing the blunts, okay, like a line, like a row of like blunts littered on the floor, but then you see a white powder. So what's that showing you? That's showing you that marijuana is the gateway drug to cocaine, to harder drugs. When you start seeing that powder on the ground, okay, that white powder on the ground around the 3 minute mark. You might have to slow it down in order to see. And what these drugs do is they turn you into zombies, which is what they want you to become, so that they can control you. But you start out with marijuana, and then, you know, you go to cocaine, and it just gives, the farther along you go, the more control the demons can have over your vessel, because, you know, you're giving yourself up to demons when you know, try drugs, when you do drugs. So it's about the zombifying of um, of the population, particularly the black population, because that's what that song is about, turning us into zombies through these idols that they placed up for us. You know, they're dumbing us down through the idols that they create for us. So going from the actual musicians to the Donald Glovers to the clowns to the mumble rappers, and we decline as well because we see them as our role models. And then at the end of the song, which really sums up the entire song and this whole, and also this whole process, you have Young Thug saying, "You just a black man in this world. You just a barcode," which could mean, yeah, you're for sale. All you are is a product, or all you are is a worker. But it could also mean the mark of the beast, like the barcode on the goat in the I Pet Goat 2 video. So it can mean that you're a beast because you have the mark of the beast on your forehead. But it says, okay, you just a black man, and you're just a black man, meaning, that's the meaning. You're just a black man in this world. You just a barcode driving expensive foreigns. So that shows that explains Childish Gambino on top of that car that he didn't make, and he's around all these other cars driving expensive foreigns. You just a big dog. I kenneled him in the backyard. So what that is saying is that your enemy has kenneled you in the backyard. You are now a pet. So you used to be, intimidating man. I mean, you think of look at Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, he's over 7 feet tall. He's a big dog, but he's been kenneled, meaning he's been made harmless. Look at Terry Crews. They've broken, broken these men. You think about Willie Lynch, how you break a horse, you break humans the way you break a horse. You make them a product to be sold. Like Shaquille O'Neal, they instead of him being, this threat to them, they've turned him into an actual benefit in terms of he's actually making money for them. He's working for them. They give him some money, some kickback, but he's actually working for them. And so he has all this mass, all this bulk, this intimidating man, but his brain is gone and he is under their control. So they're saying, I kenneled him in the backyard. And at the end of the video, Childish Gambino is in the dark and he's running from people. He's running. He's afraid for his life. So that's mocking us, showing us the position of the black male in particular, the black community in general, what they've done to the black male over time. They've killed the strong image. They've killed the actual musicians. They've killed the actual revolutionaries. And in their places, they put clowns and puppets and mumble rappers in order to have taken their place, so that the black community at large will look to these mumble rappers now, these people who are plastered all over the televisions and the radios, and look up to them. And so it dumbs down the entire race. And so now to the intellectual part, because I've talked about the music, how they've done it through music, how they've done this down through music, going from Aaliyah to Cardi B. I showed how they did it in sports, how they went from Michael Jordan to Shaquille O'Neal, and even LeBron James, who Donald Trump called LeBron James stupid, but he didn't call Michael Jordan stupid. So that just shows you how Michael Jordan was part of an era where he was respected as an athlete. Magic Johnson respected as an athlete. But now they're making sure that those kind of people don't rise up again. They're creating in their image. They're creating they're creating the players, the people who will influence the black race in the image that they want them to be in. So they're making clowns. who have a certain talent, you know, like the guy who could play multiple instruments in This Is America. Like they have certain talents, maybe, maybe not. Um, and sometimes the talent could just be able to hold the attention of an audience, but they have certain talents, but without the brain attached. So, you know, Michael Jordan, so that would explain Shaquille O'Neal having Michael Jordan's body, but Shaquille O'Neal's mind. So, Aaliyah, who was a straight A student to Cardi B, Michael Jordan, who I've never heard anyone call stupid, to Shaquille O'Neal and LeBron James. Then you have Malcolm X, who was the actual revolutionary intellectual, to Huey Newton, who was the criminal and the drug addict, zombified, so to speak. And now I want to talk about the intellectual or the academic area. Now, our academics nowadays are Michael Eric Dyson. He is the black intellectual who is on everything. You know, they have him on CNN. Bill Maher had him at Aretha's funeral. I mean, he's everywhere. You know, he's the top black intellectual. But what is he teaching us? He's teaching us victimization. He's teaching us to see ourselves as victims. I had a dream a few nights ago where, and it was actually within the same dream as the Michael Jordan wanting to fight his copy who had Shaquille O'Neal's brain. And in this dream, I was at a college and it was a parking pass. You know how like when you're at a college, you have to have a parking pass in order to park on campus, at least during the week. So I had this parking pass. It was shaped like a handicap tag that you put on your car in order to park up close. But I decided not to use it, but there were a lot of other people using it. In a dream before that, I had like a walker, you know, like the handicapped people use in order to walk. I had like a walker, and Michael Eric Dyson was next to me, and he was like instructing me to like exercise on this walker. And I couldn't because he was telling me to use it as a stair stepper, and you can't step on a walker as a stair stepper. Because you know how a walker looks, and there's not even enough, like, there's not enough of a platform to even step up on, and it would be too high anyway. But he's telling me to like exercise, go up and down, like I'm walking on a stair step thing on a walker. And then, like I said, in this most recent dream, I had like a handicap. It was a car parking lot pass, but it was shaped like a handicap tag. And I associated that with Michael Dyson keeping us handicapped because he's telling black people that we are victims. And so that keeps us handicapped. And in this dream, like there's a benefit to having this car pass, and actually it's the color of the Black Panthers. Like the car pass is light blue and black. And you know, Black Panthers were associated with the Communist Party. But so anyway, Michael Eric Dyson is teaching us that we are victims. And a victim cannot rise up and do anything independently. A victim is looking for, in that state, if you stay in that state. I'm not saying like sometimes like you have to understand what has been done to you. Like I'm not saying that victimhood is not real. I'm saying if you stay in that state, you know, there's a time to, you know, reflect on your victimization. But then after that, if you want things to change, it's like you have to actually move from that. You know, like you have to start seeing yourself as something more than your victimization. But if you have someone like Michael Eric Dyson who is continually calling you a victim continually, then you're going to feel like you're going to take on that identity. Like it's like the effective thing to do would be to show people how they've been taken advantage of, and then show them the proper steps in order to get out of their situation. But if your job is to just point out how we're victims, like what next? You know, what do you do next? Well, um, in this dream, there's a benefit to having the quote handicap sign, because you can park closer. You can park closer to the building. And so I had this car pass that was shaped like a handicap sign that was light blue and black, the colors of the Black Panthers, but I decided not to use it. And so to me, it's showing that there is a benefit in being handicapped, permanently handicapped, and that you can park closer, you can get certain perks and benefits within the system. But who wants to be handicapped? And I look at the intellectuals today that they prop up, the Michael Eric Dysons, as being people who sell us this idea of Black Americans that we're handicapped. And the danger in that is the fact that he also he's also done, I think, books on Tupac Shakur, but it's like these people, because they see us as handicapped and victims, they even look at predators as being victims. Tupac Shakur, who his final song was "Toss It Up," a song about being about having sex with women. So one could say that he is a predator for women, but Michael Eric Dyson is, talking about his genius and stuff like that. So putting a different narrative behind people whose behavior says otherwise, that's very dangerous, because you have someone like Michael Eric Dyson who is very charismatic and he's able to say things in a way that you believe him. If he's saying Tupac is this great person, it's almost like if someone is telling you, and he was against Bill Cosby. So I'm not, so I'm not saying that this is him, but I'm saying if someone were to create this great narrative, and people have online defending Bill Cosby, of how great Bill Cosby is, like I said, not Michael Eric Dyson, but if another intellectual were to tell us how great Bill Cosby is, and then you're a female and you believe this, like you have that narrative in your mind that Bill Cosby is this great person, but you meet Bill Cosby and he offers you a drink and you accept it because you have this narrative in your mind that this intellectual who is very good at putting words together in a way that makes them believable. So you have this narrative going on in your mind that Bill Cosby is this great person, and you accept this drink from him because the only narrative that you know about Bill Cosby, or the only one that you've accepted, is the one given to you by this intellectual. Then you accept the drink because the intellectual told you that Bill Cosby is this great person. Well, Michael Eric Dyson did that for Tupac Shakur, saying how he's this genius and all that. And so on top of telling us that we're victims, he also in the process talks about the genius of these gangster rappers, rubs shoulders with these gangster rappers. And he even raps the lyrics of these gangster rappers when he appears on interviews, like making them more than what they actually are. They're destroying the community with their harmful lyrics. And for him to be rapping their lyrics as if the lyrics are harmless or even empowering is very irresponsible, and makes people see these rappers in a light that they're not. So in that sense, he's harmful. But if you're on this whole tip that Black people are victims, then I guess you would have to look for the good in all of us, because if you didn't see us as victims, then you would have to start seeing at least some of us as being actual predators. But he can't break his whole act. So even in the worst, even in the bad Black people, he's choosing to only see the good side of them, which again, like I said, puts us at risk for coming into contact with actual predators. Because there's his philosophy, there's his ivory tower philosophy, the ivory tower philosophy that Michael Eric Dyson chooses to espouse and promote. But then there's actual reality. And the reality is, even if we were or see ourselves as victims from a biblical standpoint, and I know he professes to be a Christian, um, and we are black people in America. We are actual Israel, the flesh Israel, flesh. Okay, children of the flesh, Israel. Our identity has been stolen by white-skinned people, but we're actually the flesh children of Israel in America. We fit the curses, going back to Egypt again on ship, transatlantic slave trade. To look at the truth is to see that we disobeyed God time and time again. And that's what got us into this current situation. So we're not actually victims to begin with because we got here through disobedience. So we're not innocent victims. And then when you look at the leaders we've chosen for ourselves, how we're essentially repeating our history in terms of parents not properly teaching their children, and so their children are being raised by the television screen to become aspire to become mumble rappers and athletes. They're being raised up by the television, and so we're not passing down. And God said, your children, you don't teach your children about, you forget me, so I'll forget your children. So it's like you're not teaching your children about God. You're not teaching him about the wonders that he performed for you, in getting you out of Egypt. And therefore your kids grow up without a knowledge of God. They're raised by the television, and then they have no help, because you didn't teach them correctly. You allow them to be brought up by the television and by your enemy, by other nations that taught them the wrong things, and now they're misled, and they have the wrong role models. Chameleonaire looking up to Michael Jordan as if he were a god, and then getting the harsh reality that no, this is a man. This is a man who's selling a product, and he might not even respect or like you, like in the case of Michael Jordan. He didn't even like his fan who had just spent $7,000 on a vintage jersey of his. So your children are being given the wrong role models through television. They're being given these compromised zombies that are vessels for evil spirits, and they're leading them astray for a paycheck, and because they're compelled to, because they're possessed. They're zombies. That's how your enemy set them up to be vessels for the agenda of another people, not for their own people. Now, so intellectually, we have the Michael Eric Dysons who, are showing us that or telling us that we're victims when in fact we're not. And on top of that, we're a long line of disobedience got us here. On top of that, there are actually predators within the black community that need to be exposed. And what better way to start than with the rappers that Michael A. Dyson chooses to lift up and even rap their lyrics and put on some kind of pedestal. Why don't you start with their lyrics in terms of them being degrading women and promoting violence? But again, he has to stick with his narrative that he's created of victimization, and that's why he's so popular and allowed on CNN, because he's promoting a false narrative that will do nothing but keep us in the situation that we're in. Helpless victims. Feeling like we're victims, and eternally, and therefore we don't see a way out, and instead we look for advantages within our victimhood of being able to park closer with a permanent handicap sign rather than not wanting to be handicapped. Because what else can you do if you're taught that you're a victim and you're not given any tools or any information on how you can get out of your situation? Then all you can do is look for benefits within your victimhood. Look for welfare, look for handicap tags, and not look for an actual way out. And so that's what he's promoting. He's promoting this dumbing down process as well, because it's keeping us. The dumbing down has occurred, and he's helping to keep us that way because we're eternal victims. So we've done the music portion, how they're dumbing us down, the sports, how the political in terms of Malcolm X to Huey Newton, and then also the intellectual, the ivory tower in terms of Michael Eric Dyson, in terms of keeping us in this victimhood trap. Now I want to talk about YouTube. Now I've already done videos on Tommy Sotomayor, Tariq Nasheed. I just want to name some people who, I mean, and there's so many. Like, I'm finding there's so many people who you listen to for a period of time, and you realize that they're not offering anything. They're not offering any actual solutions. Instead, they're offering you packaged up victimization and helping to tarnish, like, to just dirty your spirit. And I look at the analogy of, you have the Saints, the football team, and like I said, I don't watch sports, but I'm using this as an analogy. The Saints won the 2010 Super Bowl against the Colts. A colt is a horse, and the Willie Lynch letter talks about breaking of a horse. So you have the Saints versus the horses, the broken horses, the Colts, that the Saints won against in the Super Bowl 44. Now the Saints represent the people who follow God, who they read the Bible, they study the Word, they do God's will, they have faith, they're not afraid of death. They've earned the title of being children of God. And then you have the Colts, who essentially are broken. They're broken inside. They're broken vessels. Okay? I remember having a dream where there was a woman and she had a ponytail that looked like a horse's tail. But inside, I could see inside of her, and she was a skeleton. It's like she appeared to be deceased, because I saw her skeleton face, but she had horse hair. And I was seeing the inside of her, so it's like she's broken. Like, so you have people walking around who are actually broken, like they're broken, and they're zombies, like they're dead inside. But it's like they shoot them in the back of the head, like the guy in the This Is America video, and then they bring them back to life in order to provide the entertainment, like they did in the This Is America video. So it's like they're zombies, they're broken inside. They've been tamed, like the Willie Lynch letter says has to be done to horses, for them to be used for the pleasure of the owners, taking that independent spirit out of these people and bringing them on board as your employees. So these people, I feel like on YouTube or whatever, a lot of people have been broken. They've been broken, and they're either employees or they're just broken, but they've been hijacked for another agenda. Okay? I've talked about, like I said, Tariq Nasheed, there's Tommy Sotomayor, there's Irritated Genie, Umar Johnson, Brother Polite. These are people who are they're compromised. What's his name? Yeah. What is, oh yeah, Professor Griff. A lot of these pro-black people, and not even only pro-blacks, but they're not promoting God. They in one video, Irritated Genie was actually really really praising Mark Essex, the Black Panther who was killed, who he killed some white people, and then he was overpowered by the police, but he's at his grave site summoning his spirit or something like that. And it's like these people are on the payroll to lead you to your death, to your end, because They're causing you, if you're going to lash out, you're going to either lash out at the wrong people or you're going to lash out in the wrong way. He's also irritated Genie. He's also supposedly praising Xavier Johnson and also Gavin Long. And these are people who were misled. They didn't know who their enemy was. So they just kind of like implode and go after like the closest target that seems similar to who they think their enemy is. And it doesn't end up actually changing anything. But Irritated Genie was actually like promoting these guys as being heroes, Gavin Long and Xavier Johnson, because these people, these vessels on YouTube that are, they're popular and they have a lot of followers, they're actually leading you astray. Like, they have a talent, which is the gift of talking and charisma, maybe, but or comedy or whatever. They're good at talking. They're good at comedy. They might be good at memorizing facts, and they're being used. Their vessel is being used, but for another agenda that you can't see. And for example, with Tommy Sotomayor, the black woman is the enemy. It's like, but what the people who listen to him don't see is what is the end result. Like, he's building up these men in order to build an army against black women. Like, we are, as if we are an actual threat, or as if we are an actual worthy army to go after, in terms of killing us. Like, that's actually going to help the black males who Tommy Sotomayor is speaking to. Like, his message is in order to throw the community in more disarray, in order to further degrade the community and put us against each other. I don't know if you've seen, like, I was only able to see the first episode of Westworld. I couldn't see, I think it started in 2016, but I couldn't see the actual series because it's just too disgusting. Like, they show naked bodies. Like, all I could take was that first episode. That's the only episode I watched, the first one. But it's so demonic, and they show sex, and they show, from what I see, like the previews and stuff like that, they show cursing. So I could only watch one episode of Westworld, but I've actually seen clips on YouTube of other episodes just to get an idea of this demonic show, because it shows you the mind of Satan. Okay, because of course Satan is the creator of the Westworld robots. Okay, now in one scene you have Charlotte Hale, and you can watch this on the internet. In one scene you have Charlotte Hale, and then you have Dolores. Now, Dolores is a robot created by Arnold and Robert Ford, which is Anthony Hopkins and the other guy who plays Bernard, but who's actually Arnold. Now, what this shows you is the devil taking on human form, because the devil is playing, if you can believe it, he's playing Arnold, he's playing Robert Ford, he's playing Dolores. It's his spirit working through these characters in order to act out his will. Because if you create a robot, if it's a robot, then it can be programmed by an outside source. That outside source happens to be the devil. Okay? Follow me now. In one particular scene, they show Charlotte Hale, who is a compromised, like kind of evil, for herself type human being. And then you have a copy of her that holds Dolores' consciousness, but Dolores is the devil, is the devil's consciousness within a vessel. Okay? So the devil essentially creates, because the devil is Arnold, Robert, and Dolores, because the devil is creating these artificial entities without consciousness in order to put his consciousness in them so that they're not burdened with conscience. so that he can completely control them. Okay, so Charlotte Hale, there's Charlotte Hale, but then Arnold or Bernard, who is also another creation of the devil, Robert Ford, and you'll probably need to watch the video, creates a copy of Charlotte Hale, who is a compromised human being, but he puts the consciousness of Dolores, who is a representative of the devil, inside of her. And then this vessel, Charlotte Hale's vessel, comes out. It's a copy. It's essentially a copy of Charlotte Hale. So think back to the copy of Michael Jordan, okay? The dream where I had Michael Jordan, and then there was a copy of Michael Jordan. Now, Dolores comes out. Dolores was originally a robot created by Robert Hale, who has the will of Robert Hale and Arnold in her, okay, who are the devil. So this robot, this copy of Charlotte comes out, Charlotte Hale comes out, but with Dolores's consciousness in her. Okay, so you have the body of Charlotte Hale, but you have the consciousness of the devil in this copy. Okay, the copy comes out, the copy of Charlotte Hale comes out and tells Charlotte Hale, you wanted to live forever. Be careful what you wish for, and shoots Charlotte Hale and kills her. So the copy takes the place, the copy who has the consciousness of the devil in it takes the place of the actual Charlotte Hale, who was already a morally compromised human being, who was ruthless and for, just ruthless pursuits. Okay, so the copy comes out and takes the place of the original. So think back again to the Michael Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal, and with the Michael Jordan versus the Shaquille O'Neal copy of Michael Jordan dream. Okay, where Michael Jordan is being replaced by people who, athletes, LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal, who look like Michael Jordan, who have the athleticism, but not the mental capability, not the independent spirit, not not the independence. Like, they're fully broken, they're fully empty vessels that can be controlled by outside forces, and will willingly put on dresses, will willingly be prostitutes. I mean, both of them have worn dresses, and will willingly just fit the agenda and not be this independent force, but be clowns to be laughed at, to be made fun of, even by the President of the United States, even by, and then by SNL. They want us to be, court jesters and clowns, puppets and clowns. That's what they want. They don't want the Malcolm X's. They don't want people who can be respected. They don't want black people who can be respected in positions of power. Okay? So Michael Jordan is being replaced. And the reason why, I don't see how I would have been able to hold him back. What I see is I wasn't actually able to hold. Like, how can I? Look at me. I mean, I'm 5'3.5". How can I hold back Michael Jordan, who's 6'6"? The way I see it as, and you'll notice that LeBron James has Michael Jordan's number 23. He didn't really want. He was angry with this guy who had taken his form, who was a copy of him, but with Shaquille O'Neal's consciousness. He was angry at him, but not angry enough to actually do anything. Because, I mean, he could have easily, the way I look at it, he could have easily pushed me off, but he didn't. So I was able to hold him back. But I see that as he's a compromised person. Just like in real life, Michael Jordan is apolitical. He's not going to say anything that's going to damage his ability to sell shoes, even the people who he dislikes, even the people he thinks of as the N-word, like he did Chameleonaire. He still wants them buying the shoes. So he can't go against, athletes who he may not consider up to his level if he thinks that doing so would affect his shoe sales. Okay? And I think back to the time where Denzel Washington in an interview is rapping Cardi B's rap lyrics. Okay? He said, "Oh, you didn't think that I knew the lyrics to Cardi B's music." Because, you know why? Because he sees this as something hip, a way to capture more fans, more admiration, more ticket sales. He won't comment on the stupidity of the lyrics because, as a compromised human being, You know, this is what's going to eventually replace you, Denzel. Like these mumble rappers and clowns are going to replace you completely. But he can't see that. All he sees is this is I don't just like with Michael Jordan, you know, it's like I don't want to put off people who are going to buy my products. So I have to be hip, you know, I have to be able to rap Cardi B, even though she's buffoonery, you know, even though she's blackface of the worst of the characteristics of black people. I have to rap her lyrics so that I can get more ticket sales and make more money for myself because I'm compromised. I'm completely compromised. You know, so that's the way I see Michael Jordan and why he didn't actually fight the copy of him with LeBron James with Shaquille O'Neal's mind in it. But again, I was also holding him, so you know, I mean, in this dream, so I'm not sure, but I'm just saying he wanted to fight him, but I held him back and he didn't. But I don't see me overpowering a Michael Jordan, so I see it as he was angry, but he wouldn't say anything. Of you know Shaquille O'Neal being actually called a clown by Phil Jackson. So if Phil Jackson saw it, you think Michael Jordan couldn't see it? You know, and these I wonder what he thinks about these black male athletes wearing dresses nowadays. But he can't talk about it because he wants to sell his shoes and he doesn't want to make too many of his, you know, fans angry to where his shoe sales decrease and where he, you know, he don't want to leave that billionaire uh, tax bracket. But yeah, and so concerning Tommy Sotomayor um, and how he is causing these rifts, you know, these chasms in the black community. I look at him. There's another Westworld clip on YouTube of Clementine. Clementine is a robot, and for some reason, like she's been made into like a zombie, an actual zombie. And I don't quite know how because, like I said, I was only able to watch the first episode because it's too much. Like I grew up in a different time period. I can't watch that. Like it's just too much. It's too much gore, too much nudity and stuff like that. That kind of stuff, watching that kind of stuff messes up your soul. So I can only watch one episode, and that was only to get an idea of the devil's like plans, you know. And if you notice in that show, they're promoting the death of humans. Now, the robots, if you look at my video on whites or artificial intelligence with the grand illusionist and their superpower is creating grand illusions, i.e. lies. If you watch that video, you'll understand. But Westworld, the robots represent the white race, okay? And the humans represent like the black race or people who are more black, okay? But the robots also represent the people who are half something else, something other than black, you know? So, you know, Thandie Newton is in it, and also Tessa Thompson is also half white and Mexican. So they would also be considered robots. So Charlotte Hale, Tessa Thompson's character would also be considered a creation of Robert Hale, Robert Ford, who would be a representative of the devil. Okay, so the robots, the artificial intelligence would represent like the white race, and the humans would represent like the black race. And then in the film, or the black and brown races, okay? But in the film, the robots are killing or want to, you know, kill the humans, you know, and Dolores ends up killing the corporation at, I think it's the end of one of the, like I said, I've only seen clips of this after the first episode, but she ends up killing all the humans that come for like some event. But again, Dolores is a representative of the devil. Robert Ford, representative of the devil. Arnold, representative of the devil. And because Dolores is a creation of Arnold and Robert Ford. But anyway, Clementine is one of the robots, but she's been made into like a zombie that can just be programmed by anyone. And in one scene, she's riding like the death horse, and Charlotte Hale references it as the, I guess, the death force, um, or one of the horsemen, as one of the horsemen. Okay, just one of the horsemen. So she's riding a white horse, and Charlotte Hale references it as being one, as representing one of the four horsemen in the Bible. And the robots are trying to get to like a heaven, like a simulation, like a heaven type area, the area beyond the valley or whatever. Charlotte Hale, however, sends Clementine, who is this zombie that's been reprogrammed, into the crowd of the robots trying to get out of this simulation that the devil has put them in, this fake world, this robot world for humans to come and uh, interact with these robots. The robots are trying to get out. Okay, so they're trying to get out, but Charlotte Hale sends um, this horseman who is Clementine, who is a zombie, through them. And as she goes through them, her programming causes the robots who are trying to get out of this fake world that the devil's put them in, causes them to fight against each other. Okay? And so I look at that as being Tommy Sotomayor's role. Like he's been reprogrammed by the devil in order to cause a rift, cause fighting between black males and females. Okay, so and I'll put the links to all these scenes that I'm describing on these shows that kind of show what's going on, because it's easier for you to see it than for me to tell it. And so that's why it's always very, very beneficial for me to find the real world, not the real world, but the depiction in film of what's happening, because it's just easier that way. It's easier to show it than to tell it. But she goes, as she's passing through these robots who are trying to get out of this fake world, they immediately start fighting each other. Okay, and that's what Tommy Sotomayor is doing. He appears to be, and the robots initially think that she's their friend, because initially she had been with them. She had been part of their daily routine. She was one of them, right? But the humans had reprogrammed her so that she actually carried out the agenda of the humans rather than the robots. So it became apparent to the robots that she wasn't their friend, because in her wake, as she passed by, the robots started fighting each other, because something that she was programmed with caused them to. That is Tommy Sotomayor. He's a vessel that has been programmed to cause us. We're trying to get out of this hell, this plastic, this prison with no walls or with no bars the devil has put us in, because of our disobedience, and we're in this condition, and we're trying to get out. But then the devil and the enemy sends in Tommy Sotomayor, who looks like us, but it has been programmed in a different way, so that as he passes through us, we fight each other. You see what I'm saying? Like, rather than getting out of this situation, we fight and kill each other. So, and that can be shown no more clear than the fact that he considered Ray Caruth a hero. Ray Caruth, who killed his pregnant baby mama, he killed her because he was having unprotected sex with her, and I guess he couldn't control himself enough to put on a condom. So he got her pregnant and wanted her to have an abortion, and she refused, and so he has her killed. And Tommy Sotomayor is calling him a hero, like saying Ray Caruth is the leader of a revolution of men. Like, do you realize how cowardly that is, to look at someone who kills their baby mama because they didn't want to pay child support? How cowardly it is to do that. But his narrative, the narrative he's created, has turned Ray Caruth into a victim. You understand? You see the parallels with Michael Eric Dyson turning these predators into heroes and victims. So he's turned Ray Caruth into a victim. and therefore is calling him some kind of hero and revolutionary for killing this woman. So what he's doing is trying to cause us to fight amongst each other and destroy each other. You know, there's nothing admirable or manly about killing your baby mama because you don't want to pay child support. But he's casting black women as the enemy and black males as some kind of, you know, victim of black women. And therefore it's supposed to lead black males to, you know, want to eliminate us and for us to fight amongst each other and not breed together because, of course, you know, he's propping up the light-skinned women saying how beautiful they are. So what he's doing is leading to the depopulation that his white masters are promoting of black people because, like I said in my other videos of him, he's promoting, you know, black males to mate with, you know, the beautiful, because he says they're beautiful, you know, light-skinned women. He props them up as being beautiful and black women as being unattractive. So, you know, he's promoting us being bred out because black people in general, because I mean, if you come out of the womb of a mixed race or a white woman, you're not going to be fully black, but also causing this, you know, animosity and hatred of black women that could lead to, you know, repeats of the Ray Cruz situation by calling him a hero, making this coward seem like some kind of hero. So just keep that in mind. He is the Clementine zombie that is going through our ranks, causing us to fight each other as we search for a way out. So I just want to do a video on these people who are the replacements of the real. You know, you had the real Malcolm X's, and then they're being replaced by, you know, bread and circus, by clowns, by modern day blackface, so that as they're trying to eliminate us, they can make a joke out of us as well. And like Micheal, stand back and watch the result of their handiwork in destroying us by dumbing us down and by using icons that they've set up in order to dumb us down and then laugh about it.